Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Leigh Fuge, and in this video today, we're going to be talking about drums. So we're not talking about any guitar related stuff today, but everything we talk about in this video can be tied back to your own guitar playing at home, especially if you are writing and recording your own songs at home and you want to get some great drum sounds on there. So we're talking about the brand new drum programming course from my good friend Henning Pauly. He's teamed up with the guys at Spectra Digital, which is the new company by Glenn Fricker. This is the drum programming course Henning has put together, which will show anyone out there who doesn't know anything about programming drums how to program drums at home.
In a world where you don't have a space to record drums, no mics to record them, and you don't want to hang out with your drummer because he's dating your girlfriend, one man dares to come to the rescue.
So before we start looking at what this course is and how it benefits you guys, I do just have to say Henning is not paying me for this video. Surprise, surprise. But Henning has given me an affiliate link, which is down below in the description. So if any of you guys are interested in purchasing this course, you can click that link below to the Spectra Digital website, and I will get a small kickback from that purchase at no extra cost to you. Henning, however, has not put his hand in his pocket. So this course is a very in-depth drum programming course. It's designed so that anyone who has never programmed drums before can get realistic sounding drums at home without a real drummer. Now, Henning has many years experience doing this. He's worked as a producer and he's obviously running his YouTube channel at the moment as well. He has worked in many great studios all over the world with many great artists, most notably James LaBrie from Dream Theater and Sebastian Bach from Skid Row. Henning has worked with a lot of big names, so he does know a thing or two about drums, and especially drum programming. He's been doing workshops on drum programming for a while. I believe he has about 30 years experience in that field. So yeah, you know, he knows a thing or two, so now he's put all of this down on video for anyone out there who wants to learn. So why is this important? Why do guitar players need to know anything about drum programming? Most of us that write and record music at home, either in our own studios or with our own little demo rigs, will definitely need to consider drum programming at some point if we want to get our tracks sounding great. Due to various things that have gone on in the last 12 months in the world, obviously most of us haven't been able to get in a room with real drummers, so drum programming has become a big skill set that guitar players really need to know. But beyond that, it's just a useful thing to know. If you are a creative person and you want to record demos, or you want to release music on your own with no other musicians involved, knowing how to program great sounding drums is really a good skill to have in your toolbox. So in this course, Henning has not tied this to a specific VST drum program, but he's actually covered a load of different ones. So you've got everything from Superior Drummer to Get Good Drums, to BFD, to Battery, to Stephen Slate drums, and basically all of the principles you learn can be applied to any drum VST you might be using, whether it's a free one or a premium one. The course itself is about 15 hours long, which is a lot of material, but there's a lot of ground to cover. He covers everything from programming simple beats.
For that, we're gonna go into BFD here, program a little groove that then goes into, well, similar groove. I'm using Q and W as always to change my quantization, and obviously ASYXD. We learned how to do this stuff earlier.
Right up to doing some fills and some metal style drumming with some double bass.
They're not gonna get goom, goom, goom. It's it
even goes into the world of different time signatures, like your sort of your 6/8s and your 7/4s, and all sorts of interesting topics that anyone would need to know to really understand how a drummer thinks. There's even a really useful module on mixing VST drums as well, which is super useful for anyone who's ever tried to get realistic drum sounds from a plugin. So the course itself is actually currently on sale. If you're watching this video before the 25th of April, it's currently on sale from that link down below now for $99, which for my friends in the UK is about £71, £72. And on the 25th of April, it's going to go up to the full price rate, which is $149, which again, for anyone in the UK is about £107. So for that purchase price, you get Henning's 30 years of drum programming knowledge. So it's a very, very informative course. I've actually been working on some new tracks recently, and I have been using this drum course in tandem with what I've been writing to help fine-tune the VST drumming that I've been programming myself. Even though I've been doing it for a while, this course has really helped me kind of push my skill set a little bit further too. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys and show you a couple of examples of how this can be useful and things you may have already seen if you've started programming drums yourself at home. So I'm going to be using Superior Drummer 3. Obviously, whichever drum VST you use, it's cool. Superior Drummer 3 is just the one that I happen to use. I have not done any mixing with this just because the examples I've put here are literally just to show you guys some of the things you can expect to learn. So I'm using the default kit. The only thing I have done is I have just enabled all the bleed from all the mics in the mixer window, except for the close mics on the kick, snare, and toms. So everything you hear is just completely dry. There's no other sort of plug-in processing going on. So over to my DAW. So I've just programmed a few simple loops here, just to give you guys an idea of what we're going to be doing. So this loop here is a simple drum loop, 4/4, nothing too fancy. You can see here, here's my kick, and here is my snare. So it's just straight kick on the 1 and 3, snare on the 2 and 4. Got some crashes and some hats down here and a little drum roll that I've put in there. But you'll notice the velocity for everything is up full. Now this is something that a lot of people who program drums will fall into the pitfall of. I myself have done it many times before, where you'll just crank up the velocity just to get it sounding big and sounding heavy. But what that does is it actually sucks some of the dynamic range out. So here's how this sounds. Ignore that crash. So it sounds, it sounds like drums. If you were doing that in a demo, that would be fine. But if you were, looking to put this out in a proper track, that is not the best dynamic sounding drum part, because everything is slamming full volume, full velocity. That's like your drummer hitting everything as hard as he possibly can. When you start processing that, you're just going to be eating up all the frequencies in your mix because you're just basically pushing everything too hard. So the second one I'm going to show you is the same thing, but I've added a lot of different things to it. So the first thing you'll see is the velocities are actually changing for every note. So this is a really useful thing to consider when you program drums. Drummers aren't always going to hit everything full hit, sort of full intensity. They're going to vary the intensity of what they hit to suit, the dynamic of the song, the part of the song, what part of the drum kit they're hitting, all sorts of stuff. I've even put in these lighter shade colors here, which are ghost notes, which are notes that are played by a drummer, but they could be accidentals, but they're sort of just brushes. Like some drummers will brush the snare or brush the kick between main hits. And all this does is it just creates a nice texture in between. I've also varied the hat. So in the previous example, the hi-hats are all on this one open edge 3. But if you think about the way a real drummer would play, that would imply that the drummer's hitting the hat in exactly the same place every time. So I varied it between 1, 2, and 3. So this is the great thing with a library like Superior Drummer, is there's all these different drum samples to call upon, so I can really get into the textures. So here's how it sounds with some variation on the hats and some ghost notes and different sort of intensities on the main hits. I also changed the fill a little bit there so it wasn't just a flat out fast roll. So you can see having that knowledge and being able to really tweak your drum parts that way does bring them alive a little bit. That still needs a bit of work. I'm still learning this process myself, but I'm definitely finding my VST drum program is getting more realistic. I am also someone that used to fall into the trap of just slamming the velocities. So this one, I'm actually going to turn the velocities up there, is a sort of hard rock drum track where I've literally just done the same thing. I've just slammed everything at full pace. Everything's on the grid as well. So this is the other thing to think about. There's some timing things. Because everything's on the grid, a real drummer wouldn't be this robotically tight. So that drum track should have a little bit of groove and a little bit of swing to it. So let's put some in using some of the knowledge from the course. So Henning has written modules on things like fills and different breaks and how to use the hi-hat and the ride effectively and all the dynamics that you need to program the drums to sound realistic. So what I've done here is I've duplicated that exact same drum part. Now when you see me moving the velocities, what I'm actually doing is I've set up some quick keys on my keyboard. So if I press the A or the D button, it varies the velocity. I use the Reaper DAW. If you can do this in your own DAW, it's very useful because it means you can kind of edit the velocities on the fly without needing to go and drag this little slider up and down every time. So this is the same drum pattern. Identical, all the velocities on full. What I'm going to do is I'm going to program a bit of groove in there. So the first thing I'm going to do is just bring down all the velocity to about there. Just softens it up a bit, takes the edge off. Okay, so it's not as intense as everything being on full. It sounds a little bit better already. Now the first thing I'm going to do is just vary these hat hits. So I'm going to take them and shift them to different positions. Again, this doesn't have to be symmetrical. This can be whatever you want. It can be completely random. Some can double up. Because really we're trying to get into the mindset of what a real drummer would do here. So that will do. So now I want to vary the intensity of those hat hits. So a drummer would probably hit the hats hardest on the beat. So this one, we'll leave that as it is. These three in between, we're going to drop down a bit. I'm going to do the same in this bar, so that's my first one. So that will stay as it is. That's my third beat, so that will stay as it is. So we're running off a 16th note grid here. So you get a lot more sort of swing and a lot more flow on those hats. Now I'll add in a couple of ghost notes and just sort of accent some of these main hits. So this hit here, this kick drum, is my main one, so I want that to be quite a prominent one, and my main snare drums. Now I'm going to put in some little ghost notes. So this is where we start to incorporate some groove. So I'm going to put a ghost note here. So I'm basically drawing in a second snare hit, but not at that same volume. I'm going to drop the velocity right down. And I may even put a ghost note here on the kick. It's almost like an accidental kick, but it works really well. And then we'll put another snare hit here and put a double here. I want that second one there to be a little bit quieter too. And now my drum fill at the end needs to be sort of spruced up a little bit. So I'm doing this snare roll. So obviously all of those hits are the same intensity. So that wouldn't be the case if a real drummer was playing it. So the first one would probably be louder because that's the sort of impact of the run. And then as the fill goes on, the intensity might diminish slightly. So let's just dip it down a bit and leave the last one slightly higher. And then same thing here, these might dip off as the fill goes around. So I want that ghost note to be even quieter. So straight away, that's instantly more realistic than the previous version, which is this. Compared to the one I've just done. Now obviously that is a lot quieter because the velocities aren't going full tilt, but you would address that in the mixing stage. You'd actually boost those drums up as you're mixing. The other thing you can do, and different DAWs will have different options on this, but this is also something useful, is the ability to humanize the drums. So in Reaper I can simply select them all and humanize. Henning talks a little bit about this in the course as well, how to sort of add that swing to the drums, because humanizing the drums is basically making everything not be stuck to the grid. If your real drummer recorded to a click, even though he's playing to the click, he's not going to be perfectly lined up with the grid. So if this is on 0, the timing here is on 0, all of these start points and end points are going to be perfectly lined up with that grid. So if I move this, obviously you can see that moves quite far out. So what's that going to sound like? Okay, so that's way out of time. So if I now bring that down, let's just say we want like, you know, a 5% humanization. Just makes it a little bit more realistic. So these are all topics and all skills you can learn from this course. There's also an entire module dedicated to mixing VST drums as well, and this is incredibly useful. So I'm just going to show you a quick overview of that now. So I'm just going to loop this part here and just let this play continuously, and I'm going to bring up the mixer window in Reaper. So as you can see, all of this is just set straight to 0 and I've got no plugins installed. So let's just play the loop. So you can see all of these things here are different drum tracks. So I've actually got these labeled for what they are. So you've got kick, snare, snare bottom, hi-hat, tom, that's all the toms in one, overhead, and then we've got all these ambient room mics. Henning goes through the process of how to sort of process each of these fields. So when you've got your close kick mic, what do you do with that? And then your snare, or your overheads, and room, so there's a ton of stuff on best practices with, you know, how you can process all those different VST microphones as well. So it's incredibly useful, incredibly in-depth. So there you go, that's really all I've got to say about it. It's a great course. I think you guys would really like it if you're getting into home recording or you just want to take your program drums to the next level on the tracks you're making. You know, go check this course out. Henning has a ton of knowledge, you know, over 30 years experience in this field. So he does know what he's talking about, and he is really looking to get this out there and help you guys come up with some great drum tracks. And like I said, for the next couple of days, it is on offer as well. So go click that link down below, check it out. It's a great course. I'm actively working my way through it as well because, you know, for me, I program a lot of drums for things I do on YouTube and also things I do outside of this as well. I'm currently working on some new music with a singer, and, you know, we're programming all the drums. And this course has been a bit of a Bible for me in that as well. I'm going through this meticulously to learn how to make my own drums better. So it's a great course. There's a ton of really cool material in there. And yeah, like I said, I think there's going to be some stuff that all of you guys that are into this kind of thing will enjoy. So please go check it out and let me know down below in the comments what you think and how you guys have found your own drum programming adventures. Where are you at? And do you think there's somewhere you could go to take this to the next level? Let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys soon. Thank you guys so much for watching.